I feel a massive weight off my shoulders. I can't even describe how much better I feel. If you are reading this and you've been through something similar, please feel free to message me or tell someone you trust, because we shouldn't have to do this on our own, and we don't have to.
It's like surreal a little bit, and it's been a while since I've like delved into the feelings and thoughts that much, and that scares me. Where I am today is the best place I've ever been in with my trauma. This past year, I started a group therapy program for survivors of sexual assault, and it was a long journey to get there, but it's why I'm here today, and I can talk about it and hold it on my own, but know that I don't have to if I can't. And before it happened, I was 19, and then it happened and I was somebody else, and I'm still learning who that person is, and it's different every day. It was someone I knew and trusted and had a relationship with in the past, and the moment is seared into my brain. I can feel his breath on my neck and hear his voice and remember the terror of realizing what was happening. It took me a year to even admit to myself what had happened. You know, rape is a strong word. It's hard to hear. It's hard to say. That I just brushed it off. And I always thought, if I get sad, he wins. And I think what I've coming to realize more and more is that it has nothing to do with him. Who knows where he is, but just has to do with me. And it happened, and I didn't report it. I didn't tell anyone. I knew him. We had friends together. We had physics class. It took me 5 years to realize the gravity of what happened and what is still happening. Luckily, I left that school and moved to Hawaii, lived my dream, had a healthy relationship. But there was just a big part of myself that I kept in a box, and I wouldn't touch it or get close to it because I didn't know. It was just unknown. Fast forward about 4 years, I'm back in the country and looking at my relationship ending and looking ahead at myself, and whoa, I'm like in my early 20s. I've just had this amazing life experience traveling the world and got a college degree, and I could do anything. And I love to write. I've always loved to write. Writing is how I understand the world and myself. So I started a blog, and one of the reasons I started it was because there's so much fake everywhere that we see, and we're just inundated with, you're supposed to look like this, you're supposed to say this, you can only behave like this. And I know that I suffer because I compare myself to fake perfection, and I know that a lot of other people do too. So the point of my blog was to just give a very real, these are my raw thoughts, these are my raw feelings. And one day in my apartment in downtown Denver, I was sitting there on my computer, and I thought, I want to write about it. I'm getting sweaty just thinking about that moment, and my heart starts racing, and I think, okay, I'm going to write a blog about it. So I wrote it all out, excruciating detail, but I hadn't told my family yet, and I did not want them to find out by reading it on my blog. So I emailed my post and then an explanation of, hey, I know that this is going to come as a surprise, but it's time for me to share it, and I want you guys to know, and I'm sorry I didn't tell you before. And I sent it to my parents and my siblings and my grandma, and they all read it, and they, of course, supported me and did what they could, but I think I found that there's just a lack of, and not on anybody's fault, just a lack of understanding when you try to communicate it to somebody that hasn't experienced it. And it is so isolating. And one of the reasons I didn't tell them is because I was still processing my own feelings. And I could not process theirs too. And that's something I still struggle with. A lot of the time I end up telling somebody how to feel or helping them feel okay about it, which we shouldn't have to do. But I would never wish it on anybody. You know, if you understand, it's because it happened, and I wish I could take that back from everybody it's ever happened to. So I posted it online, and hundreds of people read it. And it was a big, big step for me, and I knew it was the right thing for me to do for myself. I had so many people that I've known too for a long time reach out and say, me too. And I've never told anybody until now. And now I want to. And that was my moment of like, wow, like I've just helped somebody. And it was worth it, all of it. I wouldn't even take it back because I know even if I did, it still happens to other people. And I get to help them. And I'm okay with that. After that, I got triggered for the first time. Really triggered. And I had no idea what was going on. I just wanted to crawl out of my skin. I didn't understand. For a week after that, I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't eat. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I was just angry. So angry for no reason. Well, I didn't know the reason. For a year after that, I had anxiety attacks. And I talked to my mom. It was one of my first days in law school, actually. I was sitting in class. And I just, couldn't think. I couldn't even bring words. I was just sitting there, paralyzed, just looking at the front of the class, starting to have an anxiety attack. Got out of there, called my mom, told her what was happening, and she said, you need to think about talking to somebody, because I think that it probably has something to do with the rape. And then I'm so lucky that my school gave us the opportunity to have a group of survivors. And that was another really big step, and it changed my life completely. I learned what trauma is, and I learned why I do all these things that I do, and why I am so paranoid, at night. And that was such a strong, positive moment in my life when I was just in a room of people that just got it. I didn't have to tell them how to feel or walk them through their own feelings about my rape. It was just oh, that happened. Okay, I'm here. And through that process, it went through my whole first year. I just finished it a couple weeks ago. I knew this, going through this therapy was a gift to myself, and I wanted to just go all out and just surrender to the terror, because that I felt was the only way that I could reclaim what was taken from me. That's the only way I could get over it, was to feel it, because I have been not feeling it for a really long time. And it was the day of our stories, and I knew that I wanted to do that. I knew I wanted to surrender, but I didn't know if I would be able to. It just happened that morning. I got up, found my best friend in the library, and we sat in that room, and I, for the first time in 6 years, relived that moment. And I remember I was looking at her, and my head was in my hands, and I knew I was in the room physically, but where I felt like I was trapped in a hole. Just total darkness, screaming with no sound coming out.
And what I was thinking was, help me, help me. I can't do this. And she said, you can. And I went to group, and I had 20 minutes and a candle and a room full of people, undivided attention. It's just the shame. The darkness from it is the fighting of the feeling that it was my fault, and, I shouldn't have done this, or I shouldn't have done this, even though I know it wasn't my fault. I had to reclaim that. And I did, and I blew out the candle when I was done, and to have a room of people just holding it with me and knowing that I didn't have to do it alone was just really empowering, and it gets me through my bad days still. No matter how much I'd like to say, I'll get the gel and make my scar go away, it's never going to happen. It's always going to be part of who I am. And I think some days that makes me so angry. So angry. This one person in one moment did this to me. And I am still here dealing with it every day. And that makes me so mad. And who knows what he's doing? Not this, I'm sure. Doesn't matter. I am a survivor. I survive every day. And I get to help other people survive. And I'll take that. It's still something I'm working on, as we all are. But we get to do this. This is more powerful than anything that they did to us. And I'm thankful for that.